No, man, but you got to keep going. What am I going to do, quit? That's not an option. You got to keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you. You never give up, man. That's my philosophy.
Hey, gardeners. Hope you're all having a great week. It's a little rainy outside today, so I thought we'd take a look at our tomato starts. We've got lots and lots of awesome tomato varieties popping up. Got some in here. This one's missing a few, but doing all right. They're getting growing. And over here I see we've got one of our varieties of eggplants too that's popping up right now as well. Looking forward to that. And as well, I got this variety of tomatoes right now that we got lots and lots of little starts from. We'll get a couple of plants out of these. These are called spoon tomatoes. These are like the tiniest tomatoes you will see. So we're going to grow those out. I got those again at the Heirloom Exposition this last year. So I'm looking forward to growing those out. But yeah, it's going to be tomato time real soon. All right, everybody, let's get growing. All right, everybody. Welcome all of my passionate plant people and garden enthusiasts to the Let's Get Growing show here on the Urban Gardener channel. I'm Enoch. I'm your host today. We've got a great show for you here this weekend. Absolutely. We always got great shows for you, but we got a really awesome show today and this weekend as we're basically kind of celebrating Arbor Day. It's Arbor Day this yesterday, Friday, April 25th was Arbor Day. And so we're kind of celebrating trees this weekend. We're kind of talking all about trees. And so we've got a really great show ahead for you today. A little bit later on, our featured guest today, we've got Jules Acton. She is the author of Oaklore, Adventures in a World of Extraordinary Trees. She'll be joining with us here in just a little bit later on in the show to talk about her wonderful book. And we've got joining with us today our good friend Sarah from Sarah's Seed Shop. She's going to be here with us live today to talk all about some tree adventures she's been on as well too. And it's great to catch up with her here live on the show as well. So great guests here ahead for you all here on the show today. And if you can, right here at the top of the show, hit that like button, click the thumbs up, and also subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the bell notification to be notified of all of our upcoming videos and live streams, as well as share with all of your garden friends out there. Let them know about the Let's Get Growing show. Let them know about all of our wonderful, awesome guests and great conversation that we have here every Saturday and Sunday right here at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time on the Urban Gardener channel. And definitely, like I said, share with all of your friends. Let them know that we are having some awesome discussions here, and they'll want to take part of them in them as well too. All right, and a big huge shout out to all of you who are joining with us here on our replay. Again, I love that you all take your time to join with us when you get a chance, and it's really awesome to have you here. And as well, get into the comment section down below, because I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear about any questions, comments, anything like that, or just drop in and say hi if you can as well too. If you have any questions or comments, if you're joining with us live right now, definitely jump into the conversation, jump into the chat there. Let us know you're here. Let us know what you've got growing on. And also, if you have any questions for me or any of our guests, definitely put those into big, bold capital letters, so that I can just see the questions from the conversation. It just helps me out as I'm trying to make sure I'm getting all of your questions answered. And we will try to answer as many of your questions as we possibly can, and definitely try to fit them into the conversation if we can as well too. So definitely drop those those questions in nice big bold capital letters. And I thank you and appreciate you for all of your contributions and jumping into the conversation, because that's what it's all about here on the Let's Get Growing show. Is we're all here. This is a live stream. You get to be here live with us in the conversation. And we get to talk with all of these great guests here with us live, and that means you guys can also drop in any sort of questions you're wondering about as we're having our conversations with our really awesome guests. And definitely follow the links down below to our guests, and go say hi to them. Go jump on some of their social media or videos or anything like that, and go say hi. Let them know you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show. Excellent, everybody. So wonderful to have all of you here with us again, too. Just another great show here this weekend for all of you. Looking forward to talking to our guest here just a little bit later on in the show. And we've been talking about this all month long now. This is the last weekend we get to talk about it, but it is National Garden Month. I mean, everything's going on this month. It's April. And I mean, of course, because, the end of March, spring. And so spring just opens that door to everything. April's right there the next month. So we get to celebrate National Gardening all month long. It's also Earth Day this month. And of course, this weekend, we're talking about trees because of Arbor Day. So we've got all of these great things going on in the month of April. And of course, we here on the Let's Get Growing show are celebrating National Gardening Month. And I've been talking about this all month. I hope that you guys have made some sort of plan, and it doesn't have to be this month specifically, but as we've been talking about, let's do some outreach. Let's get out there and talk with some of our neighbors, our friends. Maybe we got some family members or some some people who are kind of close to us in a sense that we can invite over into our gardens and to kind of show them how we grow all of the things we grow in our gardens, kind of hopefully convince them and show them how easy it really is to grow some food of your own or flowers or however they might like to get their garden started or that sort of thing. You can kind of help them along and do that sort of stuff. So it's kind of my idea that I thought we would do in some way as some sort of level of community outreach towards others to encourage them to join all of us, because we already celebrate Garden Month every single month as garden lovers and garden enthusiasts, as I say. We are already celebrating. So let's bring others into this just fun and wonderful celebration. And again, last weekend we're going to talk about this, but make a plan and get out there. As I said, I'm setting up some seeds and some little seed packets of a few different things I save seeds from around in my garden, and I'm going to go around and kind of introduce myself to some newer neighbors that I know that are in my neighborhood who've moved in the last few years who I haven't actually got to really meet yet. A lot of my neighbors know me. I've been here for almost 15 years, so a lot of my neighbors do know me. I'll go reintroduce myself to them again, maybe give them some seeds anyways. And again, too, just trying to encourage some people and doing some fun garden outreach out there in order to, share the fun of all of gardening that we get from it. Again, we talk about this every weekend on the show, all of the great, wonderful benefits that we get from growing and gardening, and just our close connection to nature and plants and all of that just really is just a wonderful pastime, if you will. All right. So again, too, lots and lots of great things going on. Let's see who we got joining with us today in the chat. Again, it's always great to have you all here. Jump in if you haven't. Jump in. Let us know if you have any channels or anything too. I know sometimes there's some folks who jump in and check out the show and have some channels of their own of your own. And drop in, let us know. We got our good friend Jay Dixon joining for us from Midwestern Ontario, Canada. Jay, she is our facilitator for the show. And Jay, if you'll notice in the conversation, we'll be dropping links and all of that sort of stuff as well. So if you are new to the show and you want a shout out real quick in the live conversation, definitely let us know you got a channel, and Jay will drop in a link there for everybody else. And we love to give all of our good channels and especially all of you smaller channels out there some good garden love and support definitely right here from the Let's Get Growing show. And again, thank you to Jay for all of what you do here in us facilitating our show. So keep an eye out for all of those links there as well too. Let's see, we got Rick joining us, as I say, from the future, joining us bright and early from tomorrow, basically in Australia. Rick is says, "I'm sad. My little Ford Falcon truck we call one tonner here got smashed into in the front of my house. Oh wow, there was an accident with two cars. Oh my, Rick, jeez." Well, is it? I wonder, is it a total loss, or is maybe can you flip it around the other way or something? I don't know. But oh man, unbelievable, unbelievable. That's too bad. That's too bad. And let's see here. We got Rob joining us from all the way on the other side of the globe, right there from the UK. Thank you, Rob, for being here with us today. It's great to have you. Great to see you here. Adam Burley, our other moderator, joining us from right up the road in Central Point, Oregon. That's just, like he says, just down the road from the Urban Gardener. That's right. I'm right here, basically right in the heart of the Rogue Valley here. And Adam's just right up the road there in Central Point, Oregon, here in Southern Oregon. Great to have you, Adam. Thank you for being here. See Anna. Thank you for being here, Anna. Great to see you. Let's see here. Make sure we get a nice little shout out to everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I see Jersey Girl in the conversation as well. Awesome to have you all here. Big Wes's Lawn Care joining us from Belleville, Ontario, Canada. Excellent, excellent. Some good Canadian representation right here on the show. Thank you all so much for being here. The English ladies. Suburban Veg Garden. Good evening, my garden friend. She says, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I see we've got Sam as well listening in. He says, hope everyone is having a great day. I hope you're having a great day too, Sam. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being on the show. I see we got Guten Paul from Guten Gardening here. Guten was on the show just recently as well too. And thank you for being here. Thanks for jumping into the conversation. And Rick says 99.99% a total write-off, just cleaning it out. Oh my, that is too bad. Unbelievable. And nothing you can do, just park there and just happens to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, right? Yikes, 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 yikes. Thank you. Thank you. I see Renato Luna joining us as well, too. Thanks for being here on the show. Thank you, everyone, for being here as well, too. It's great to have you all. Great to, again, got a great show for you. We've got some great conversations coming up here in just a minute. We'll take our first break here. And then, again, like I said, we've got a real treat today on the show. We usually get her during our first break, but we're going to come on right after our first break with our good friend Sarah. So we'll be right back here in just one moment.
Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with Ivory Organics, where we grow cool plants and author Saving the World with the Home Garden. Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard has 7 natural oils that protect your plants, not just from the summer heat as well as winter cold, but also protects your plants from damaging insects and rodents. The oils in the product include castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. These oils are natural insect and rodent repellent oils, which are encapsulated by the base powder, offering your plants months of protection at a time. 1 application per year will suffice for protection against damaging summer sunburn and winter sun scald, but if the target is pests, application as much as 2 to 3 times a year may be necessary.
All right, all right, all right. And just before we get to talking to Sarah, just to let you all know, if you hadn't had a chance to check out our previous shows, the last couple of weeks, we've been hanging out on Sunday, the Sunday edition of the show, with our good friend Gardner Scott. He joined us last week for his Q&A. We learned about a lot of great stuff. These are just really, really great shows. We are so fortunate to have our good friend Scott Wilson, Master Gardener Scott Wilson, joining with us. Usually on the second Sunday of each month, we flipped it around to have our book club on the second Sunday, and Gardner Scott on doing his Q&A on the third Sunday, because on our book club this last month, we had Gardner Scott as our book club. And so we just flipped it around so we could accommodate our good friend Mark Roche Colbert, Mr. MBC, who joins with us live for our book clubs. And so we were able to have a great conversation. So you'll definitely, if you didn't get a chance to check this out, this conversation about Gardner Scott's great book, Guide to Raised Bed Gardening, you want to check that out. It was just a great conversation. And again, too, it was really great to have Mark and Gardner Scott back together, or together. I mean, usually on the second Sunday, Scott's in the background as we're running through our In the Garden segment that we have. And he's usually watching the In the Garden segment with all of us, getting ready for us to get his segment of the show started. And so he's seen all of Mark's In the Garden segments over the many months that he's been doing this for us on the show, and it was fun to get them together to talk about Gardner Scott's book, Guide to Raised Bed Gardening. So again, really great conversation there as well too. So you want to go back, check out those conversations in the last couple of weeks as well too. We had a great conversation with our good friend Jason from the Cloud Gardener Saturday, a couple Saturdays ago. Great conversation on urban green spaces and all that sort of stuff. You'll want to go back and check out some of our previous conversations if you haven't had a chance to yet. And right on, everybody. And like I said, if you notice, the first break there didn't have our little garden trivia segment. That's because we've got our good friend Sarah join with us live today for garden trivia. All right, everybody, let's welcome to the show our good friend Sarah Hood from sarahseedshop.com, where you can get really ridiculous prices and awesome value on some seeds. And if you haven't had a chance to go check out Sarah's Seed Shop, get down below in the description. We've got a link down below, and go find some seeds if you're still looking for some seeds, or you want to get on and get prepared even for fall too. There's a lot of maybe cool season stuff that maybe we're running towards summer, maybe you might want to get some of those and prepare for fall as well too. So go and get some of those great seeds at Sarah's Seed Shop. Awesome, Sarah. Thanks for being here today with us live. It's great to see you.
It's great to be back. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How's everything going over there?
Pretty good.
In Missouri, right? You're right there, pretty much right in the middle of the country there in Missouri. So how's everything faring over there?
Pretty good. Got my garden going. I think the weeds are growing better than anything else at the moment, but I've also got garlic and potatoes and spinach, and I've got carrots sprouting now, and so got quite a few things coming up in my garden. So going pretty well.
Well, that's excellent. What are some of the things you got, or here, anything kind of new you're starting, or maybe you're trying some things that you're selling in the seed shop or something? Anything like that going on in the garden right now?
Trying to think. I don't think I'm growing anything new. Like last year, I was trying to grow everything I had for sale in the seed shop, and that turned out to be a little more than I could do.
Right.
This year, I've kind of backed it off a little, mostly just growing the things that I have grown in the past and that I know I like to grow and have a lot of. I I planted some purple carrot seeds. I can't remember what variety. And they haven't sprouted yet, but I'm really hoping they do, because that would be a lot of fun. Have some purple carrots.
Right. Yes, definitely. I grew purple carrots. They're not bad. I actually really actually enjoyed them. I grew some of those. Ooh, must have been 3-4 years ago. I tried those out. They were really they weren't like full like what you can get, and I'm sure they'd probably be even more amazing, being able to grow them in ground. I was growing them in a big, large, deep, kind of above ground raised bed, and they did okay. But I'm sure that they would probably even size up or even be even better, being more in the ground versus in basically a large container.
Yeah.
Adam says here too that I got garlic and elephant garlic from Sarah, and they are putting my climatized garlic to shame.
Glad to hear it.
Something that's great. That's great. Thanks, Adam. That's awesome to know too. Adam does a lot of growing of a lot of stuff, and again, it's if he's saying that he likes those, then that's a good word right there.
I'm glad they're growing well for them, because they always do pretty well for me. So I'm glad to hear it.
And this garlic variety is the variety. It's the same variety I believe your mom's grown for several years as well too, right? This German hardneck. It's a German hardneck.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, and they're great, and I still grow them. One of the things I love about garlic too, though, is your mom sent me 2 of these probably. This must have been 5-6 years ago or so. It was a while back ago, but sent me 2 just really nice heads of garlic, and I took all the big cloves off of them and planted those out that year, and then I had a bunch of garlic that next year. But I was able to, I grew like a couple hundred heads of garlic 2 seasons after getting just 2 heads of garlic from your mom. It's just amazing how garlic can multiply like that.
Yeah, I love it.
And now we've got more garlic of that type of garlic than we could ever do anything with, and all of that. It's awesome. So, we really do get to be choosy about which cloves we choose to grow each year, though, too, when you grow when you grow that much, too, which is a benefit of doing that, because you can be really choosy for your seed and then use the rest of it for all of the, whatever you're going to do, using it fresh, or you're drying it up for later, or however. But that's always.
We dehydrate a lot of garlic. Dehydrate powder.
Yeah. So it's great stuff. Good variety of that stuff. So yeah, get that over at Sarah's Seed Shop. Anyways, before we get going any further here, Sarah, you usually do a really fun little trivia question for us each and every week. And we definitely have one for everybody today, because we're talking all about trees this week. What is our trivia question for everybody this week?
All right. This week, the question is, what is the oldest known non-clonal tree species on Earth? Is it A, giant sequoia, B, bristlecone pine, C, coastal redwood, or D, Sierra juniper?
All right. Yeah. Those are all really, really familiar trees for me, being from the Pacific Northwest. So love all of those varieties of trees there. So definitely jump in your thoughts on that if you got any ideas what the answer might be, and we'll catch up with the answer on that question here in just a little bit here at the end of our conversation. And again, I was just thinking about stories and things like that, again, because I'm from the Pacific Northwest. I thought that was just such a great question. When I saw you submit that question, I was like, oh, these are perfect, because these are trees that I really love, and I've got to hike in the woods and all of that around the Pacific Northwest, and just be amongst all of these just wonderful, awesome trees. Tell me a little bit about a fun story adventure that you got to do here not too long ago and see some of these just amazing, amazing giants, really, too. And I'm kind of really jealous of this as well, because I live so close to these trees pretty much. I mean, so much closer than you do, anyways. But I've still yet to go see them. I'm going to make it my mission here for sure in the next year or two to get down there and do that. But tell us about your adventure to California to go check out some of these coastal giants.
Well, I've actually been there twice.
Twice? What?
Yeah, 2022 and 2023.
Oh my, that's wonderful.
So in 2022, my friend and I hit the road and took like this epic 8-day camping adventure. We drove from Missouri out to Crescent City, California, and we saw the Avenue of the Giants along the way, the redwoods in California. Went to a state park there in Northern California just to enjoy the redwoods. And I actually came home with a baby redwood sapling that I bought while we were there. And so I've got my own little potted redwood. It's not very little anymore, although it's still pretty little for a redwood, I guess. But so that was one adventure. That was a ton of fun. I love those trees.
So tell me real quick though, what was it like your first time when you really just got to get into those woods though, being from Missouri and all of that, just to get in to see these amazing, I mean, again, I say I grew up with a lot of this stuff, so it's just so familiar to me, but I can imagine what it would be like for folks who haven't been in those types of forests to get to adventure in them for the first time. What was that like?
It was incredible. I knew they were going to be big, of course, but you can't ever imagine how tall they're going to be.
Exactly. That's what I was
into. And so I just wandering around in the redwood forest. It's it felt prehistoric to me. Almost expect to see a dinosaur walking through. They're just
right.
The trees, the ferns, the clover that grows everywhere. All the plants were just so different from anything I'd seen. It was amazing.
The mosses, the fungi, the lichen, there's nothing like the West Coast, and for me even more the Pacific Northwest forests and all of that too. They're just really, really amazing. And like you said, it's like being in some sort of historical adventure or just kind of out of this world in some sort of sense. But it's really what's interesting about it is so much our world though, what I mean, and it feels so out of this world for us as we get to really get to enjoy that. But you talk about getting to see some big trees, and they are, and some of these big trees are big. I mean, you stand up next to them and they're towering, but you went and saw these giants though. I mean, these just amazingly huge trees. I mean, I just can't imagine getting to stand next to one of those.
So that was in 22, and then in 2023 we went back out there again and went to the Sequoia National Forest or National Park. I remember thinking, okay, they're big, but they're not as big as I was expecting after seeing the redwoods. They were tall, and I guess I expected the sequoias to be wider than I thought they were. But while we were there, we hiked down and we saw the General Sherman tree, and I gotta admit that was a really huge tree. I think it's by volume the biggest tree on Earth. So I mean, that was pretty amazing. It was huge.
Just as you come into my place from the side entrance, right on the side there, I've got this big stretch out, kind of one of those pull outs from National Geographic of General Sherman. And it's a full-size, full picture of the tree, which is amazing. And there's actually I think 3 or 4 people up in the tree, but you have to really look up in there to find them. They're little tiny little red dots up in there and everything. It's really crazy. So I just can't imagine getting to see that in person like that. It's just got to be something else. Like you said, just massive, huh?
Yeah, we were trying to get a selfie with it, and obviously, like, it didn't get anywhere near the full tree.
Right.
So
Right, right.
it
It's like you're trying to get as far back as you can and everything, but it's still like all bark behind you.
yeah, yep, it was huge.
Yeah, yeah, that's really, really awesome. Yeah, that's such a fun adventure. Like I said, I've got to really, really make it. I mean, I've driven past so many times. Again, I live here in Southern Oregon, so I drive to the Bay Area or Los Angeles several different times for different things I've done, even for the channel and all of that. But driving right past it, and it just happens to be a part of the drive, though, where you're just on a trip like that. You're either just trying to get where you're trying to go, or you're trying to just get home. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's a long stretch through California. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So if you're when you're doing those trips, it's like, and I just got to do it. I make a camp out, whatever, do something. Just go. I'm going there. That's going to be the day for that one day, and then go and finish the trip on the next day. I've just got to separate the time for it when it comes down to it, because I got to see those trees. That would
yeah,
just be completely amazing.
yeah. It was awesome. Highly
And
recommend it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Rick, as Rick says, hug a tree. Yes, exactly. I've hugged many trees. I don't know about these giant sequoias though. Did you get up there and try to hug one
I
of those giant
did.
sequoias? Yeah,
Yeah,
you
my
got you
friend got a
gotta, right?
picture. Yeah, my friend got a picture, and it's like kind of up close of me, and just like a tiny little fraction of this tree that my arms. I was just so tiny
Yeah,
next to it.
it's
But yeah, I hugged it.
yeah, yeah. I gotta imagine you just and
Yep.
you're just barely getting a piece of the tree too.
Yeah.
Just imagine how that tree feels, though, too. All these little tiny little people just giving it a little squeeze every now and then, right?
Yeah. Like,
And that's
what
just,
is that? Just
I'm sure that makes those trees days to be so popular that people just flock from all over the world to go and see them all the time and hug them. So it's got to be just great, right?
yep.
Although I'll have to say though too, again, we're talking like historical trees as well, and some
Yeah.
of the oldest trees in the world as well. Um, we are dealing with some huge issues with wildfires here on the west coast of the U.S. And that's been one of the biggest things I hear each year is we're dealing with wildfires, especially in those areas. The types of
Yeah.
things that they're working on and thinking about and planning and trying to do in order to save those trees in particular. Like, what are they
Yeah.
going to do in order to create some sort of like, you can't get past us kind of thing, through a fire line or whatever, in order to make sure we're saving these trees in particular and all that sort of stuff. So it does really, really, when you think about those and those sort of things, it really does become a lot larger of a concern, when you're thinking about what we're going to be doing with those trees. It also makes me think about the story I was telling you about as we were talking about your adventure earlier before the show. Was when I was younger. We didn't necessarily have a lot of the wildfires as much as we do, or have them as prevalent as we do. I mean, they've always really existed in the Pacific Northwest. They're really a natural thing, and even a good thing to a certain point of for the forest and its thing. It's just something that's naturally occurred for all of the time we've not been around. But anyways, one of these other things that's not natural though is something that I grew up with and just was really something was clear cuts. I grew up in a logging community in Washington State, on the coast in Grace Harbor, and that was one of the things we'd go driving around, go do things, whether it was going up to the river or heading out to the ocean or wherever. We take these drives, and you drive past these big, huge clear cuts, and it was just these, and logging was a huge thing. It was why, it was the livelihood that we all lived in, so it was a part of our lives in certain ways. But I was one of those kids where it's like, oh, this is terrible, we're killing, tearing out all these trees and everything. So I would get with these groups and everything that would go in and do like tree planting. And and as a young kid, I was telling you before too, it was something that I learned later on was basically just volunteering to do the work for these paper companies, to go out there and replant all of their clear cuts for them and all of that. But for us, we thought we were doing something to replant trees and fix these really just awful. It looked really awful, really, in a sense, when you were driving by to see just everything cleared out. They nothing was, nothing made it out of that, basically. But we planted those out, and again too, I was telling you that I think one of the cool things though is I got to go visit recently, and this was kind of something that was nice to see. Was I got to go revisit a few years ago, and so all of these places we would drive when I was a kid, they're forests again. You know what I mean? 30 some years, 40 years later. You know what I mean? And we're driving past these places that when I was a kid were all these clear cuts or all these forests again. And I'm sure they're out somewhere else, clear cutting other spots and doing other things or whatever. But I just thought it was really something to see that, all of that effort years later, even though, that we did still had something that I could come back to all these years later and see all these wonderful trees, populating these areas that were what was so devastating to me when I was younger.
Yeah. Imagine that was real gratifying to see just forest again.
Yeah, exactly. And for us again too, who grew up in these forested areas where forests are really a big part of our lives and what I grew up with, so really kind of fun. A couple of little fun, interesting stories for everybody there. But again, we're talking about trees today, and we've got our good friend Sarah from sarahseedshop.com joining with us, and she was just talking about some giant going to see the giant sequoias in the giant what is that, Sequoia National Park, right?
Yeah.
Again too, that would have been really, really fun. So all right, let's see here. We're gonna get moving along here, and we were mentioning earlier again, Sarah joins with us each week to do Sarah's trivia on our breaks. And so before we get moving on to our next break and get moving on to our featured guest here in just a little bit here, we gotta get back to this trivia question. We were talking about what is the oldest known non-clonal tree species on Earth? Now, was it A, the giant sequoia? Was it B, the bristlecone pine? Was it C, the coastal redwood? And I said coastal. We were wondering, it could be coast or coastal. And we were like, I grew up, I think, calling it coastal, but maybe that was because that's just what we called it, and it's actually called the coast redwood. But I don't know. I guess it could be either way. Right? We're going with coastal redwood because I think that's what I grew up calling it and everything. But it could be the coast redwood too. Or is it D, the Sierra juniper? Right on. So, Sarah, what is the answer to this week's trivia question? What is the oldest known non-clonal tree species on Earth?
The answer is B, the bristlecone pine.
The bristlecone pine. All right. Did you guys get B, the bristlecone pine?
So one of the oldest known tree on Earth is a bristlecone pine. Named Methuselah, appropriately enough. And it's more than 4,800 years old.
Wow.
Wow. Oldest tree. And the other, it's been cut down now, but the other oldest tree was more than 4,900 years old. It was cut down in 1964. But yeah, they were both bristlecone pines. So very long-lived trees.
And where again was the first one you were talking about?
I think it was in the first one, the Methuselah, the one that's still living. It's somewhere in the White Mountains there in California.
Okay.
The other one was in Nevada, I believe.
And it was in Nevada.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, that is an amazingly long time for a tree to be around, isn't it?
Yeah.
or
It's,
any living thing, right? To have
yeah.
witnessed that much of Earth's history. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That is
It's
amazing.
incredible. It's a
Wow.
long
Just
time.
just unbelievable. Unbelievable. What a great trivia question this week for our tree week, Sarah. Awesome. Again, thank you so much for being here and joining with us live. Like I said, it's great to have you. Saying we kind of got a little spurt of having our contributors on live with us recently. So it's awesome to have you here with us as well, too.
It's been great to be here. So thanks for
Excellent.
having me.
Yeah, right on. Excellent. And like I said, everybody, you're not going to find a better deal on seeds. I'm not even kidding you. A lot of seed companies claim this out there, but I'll tell you for sure, you're not going to find a better value, get as much seed as you're going to get for that really inexpensive price at sarahseedshop.com. Go and check out, shop for some seeds, get some things that you might need for your garden. And again, too, you can start planning ahead for fall gardening, right, Sarah? You can start planning
Yeah.
ahead for some fall gardening and get some seeds for your
Definitely.
fall garden as well, too. That's something we
And
don't think about as much as well, too, right?
right. Yeah, and I mean even in a lot of the country it's not too late to plant like summer crops, corn,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
summer squash, green beans. Yeah, so there's still time to order some seeds for summer as well. So, and then of
Yes.
course the cool weather crops for fall coming up in a few months.
Yeah. Cool weather for crops for fall, still summer crops to get everything. So, again, to Sarah, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us here today. And again, go check out sarahseedshop.com and we'll see you next week for some more garden trivia.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Enoch.
You got it. Hey, gardeners, thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible featured visits. All right, everybody. All right, like I said, we're having a great show so far today. Thank you all so much for being here and joining in on the conversation. Let's see here. I saw we had someone, let's see, jumped into the conversation there. I don't know. I think I kind of messed up. That happens sometime when I'm trying to go through this chat here. I think I saw Shawnee Groves jump in the conversation there. She just got home from a field trip and listening in. Awesome. It's great to see you, Shawnee. I just wanted to mention to everybody as well, too, that we're going to put together another community show. We've been having so much fun with this idea. The last couple of them have kind of happened because we were just kind of filling in some time that wasn't working out for certain guests or whatever. So we just kind of did it almost last minute pretty much, but I want to plan one ahead of time this time. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be a couple of weeks from now. So I'm just going to kind of throw that out right now so y'all can hear about that right now. But again, these community shows are really great opportunity for all of you to get a chance to jump on with us as well too, because as I mentioned earlier, a lot of you have small channels of your own, or just love to get into the conversation. So with these cool live streams and the way things work through YouTube and everything, is I can just throw out my show link to you guys, and you can jump on, and we can bring you on to the show and have a conversation with all of you, the viewers of our show. And some of the, and again too, you might have some channels or maybe even a small business or something like that you might want to come on and promote and talk about for a minute or two. And it's been really fun. We've had a lot of folks jump in and participate, and so I think we'll plan to do another one of those. We'll probably do it for one of our Sunday editions coming up in about a couple of weeks, but we'll do that again. And I know that a lot of you have already participated, and maybe some of you haven't had a chance yet to do that. So we're going to let you know well ahead of time about that community show, so that you all can participate and have some fun with that as well too, because it's great to be able to talk to all these wonderful guests, like our guests that we got coming on here in just one moment. It's great for me to be able to have these wonderful conversations, but I see all of you guys having your awesome conversations in our chat as well too during the show. So it's also really great to be able to have a show just dedicated to all of you, and to have all of you get an opportunity to come onto the show and get a chance to talk, and everybody else get to see you too. You know, you're all having chats with each other and talking with each other, so there's an opportunity for you to get to meet each other basically in person, live, right here on the show, sort of like they do on those fun radio call-in shows, but instead you're live on video right here on the Let's Get Growing show. So right on, everybody, it is now time for our featured guest.
You never know when you might learn something, and that's what this is about for me. These are people that I admire. Please welcome my next guest.
So, all right. We got a great guest here for you all today for our featured guest. And I just have to admit up front, we kind of got this interview set up just a little bit last minute for what I like to get set up, especially for a book interview. So I just got this book just a couple of days ago, and I just been eating it up right now for the last couple of days. I love it. I actually didn't know what to expect, but I really do love this book. This is great. It's a little bit more than what I was expecting in the type of book that it is, for sure, because it really does just basically center on oaks of the UK. But there's so much more to it, that this book is really great for anybody who loves trees, who loves forests and all of that sort of stuff, anywhere in the world, as we've been talking about already, about my experience here in the Pacific Northwest and all of that. This book is just really wonderful. So let's welcome to the show the author of Oaklore, Adventures in in a World of Extraordinary Trees. We've got with us Jules Acton. Thank you so much for being here with us here on the Let's Get Growing show.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's really exciting to be here in the ether with you.
Yes, it absolutely is. It's so wonderful. And again, too, I was just kind of talking about this book here, right, to start with. This just came to me, and again, I'm still trying to work through the rest of it, but we're still going to talk about it and everything. But I just love it when I'm getting so far. I think you're a wonderful writer. The way you put some stuff together, I'm just going to give you all this praise just right at the top, because so far what I've read, I've just enjoyed, and I get to read a lot of books, but your ability to put things together and tell some of these stories about these historical forests is just really exceptional. So awesome book. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. That was a lovely thing to say. Thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. So let's see here. Before we get moving on, I want to give you a minute here. Just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, and before we get to talking a lot about this book and stuff, tell us about Jules Acton. Tell us you're also an ambassador of the Woodland Trust, and a few other things as well too. So tell us a little bit about some of that.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Well, yes, I work for the Woodland Trust, but I'm not a tree expert, as it were. I'm a tree enthusiast, and one of the points behind the book was I just really want to explore particularly the world of the oak tree, and not knowing a huge amount about it, or not any expert detail, but what is brilliant about working with the Woodland Trust here in the UK is that I have access to loads and loads of experts. And so the part of the pleasure of writing the book was the way it was an opportunity to go out with them in the field and meet some of these incredible tree characters. So that's my job. I've always been I've always been involved in nature. I love gardening, and that's actually where my love of nature started. Out there, sort of at my father's knee, out in the back garden. And we had a lovely. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah.
That's great. Real quick here before we move on, do you have a microphone you're using?
No, I'm just using my phone just as it is. Is that
okay,
is it difficult?
Okay. Oh, just it's there's just a little connection glitch. That's all. That's just one of them. Well, that's all right. We'll just work with it best we can. I apologize to anybody else there. Seems to be almost when we're talking, it wants to do a little glitching, but that's all right. But we'll try to do and work through this the best we can. You got a great book here I want to talk about. Oaklore. This is just again too, just such a great book. Again, talking about these just really historic trees, these wonderful ancient oaks and all these other oaks. I guess there's actually, I'll just let you, before I try to get in and try to describe it all, I'll let you tell us a little bit more, just as an introduction to oaks of the UK.
Yeah, well, so the oaks of the UK. So what's interesting, there's several interesting things about the UK and oak trees. So first of all, here in the UK, we're very proud of our oak trees, even though they are actually under threat, but we're very proud of them. We sort of think of ourselves, we really identify as, you know, our country and our nationality with oak trees, which is really funny because we think about, I think it's a very British thing, but of course it is a British thing. But it's also a oak across the whole of the Northern Hemisphere. And while we here in the UK we're very proud of oak trees, you have dozens. So,
right.
You know, so it's all this sort of pride in that. And also, like many countries, you know, all the oaks are national tree, but I know many people in America feel the same. They're the national tree of America, and many other countries too, interestingly. So, but the thing about the UK oak trees is there was a study produced quite recently which showed that more than 2,300 other species are supported by UK oak trees. So that's whether they live in them, whether they feed off them, or just generally use them for, you know, or use them for roosting, habitat, that kind of thing. And they're just those we've counted, which to me is just astonishing. And of those 2,300 species, 300 of them are completely dependent on UK oak trees. So they just literally could not live without them. They couldn't move to another tree because their evolution has been so sort of tied to the. And I'm sure that you could apply that principle to many other oak trees across the world, including in America. I'm sure I don't know if similar studies have been done, but I would imagine you would have a similar scale of creatures, because oaks are so ecologically rich, you know, so rich for other wildlife.
Yeah. Uh-oh. It looks like we've lost her. What we might have you do, Jules, if it's possible, maybe we'll have you jump out and then maybe reload real quick. Maybe we'll try that and see if that'll fix some glitches.
I'm not sure if you can hear. It's gone really faint.
Can't hear?
I can't hear what you're saying. So.
I was just wondering, maybe if we reload, could you maybe we'll pop you out real quick, and then maybe if you could go back out and then kind of come back into through it. We'll see if maybe that'll help us with any sort of thing. Give that a try.
Let's try that. Okay.
All right. Excellent. We'll have Jules drop back in here in just a moment there with us, and see if we can reload, and maybe that'll fix some of those little kind of glitchiness there that's going on with that. And again, too, this is sort of a part of doing a live show, and especially when we're talking with guests from across the world and doing certain things, there's certain connection issues or different things like that that kind of pop up here and there. So again, too, we'll see. We'll have her come back on. We'll see if it works out. We'll try to get through as much of what I want to ask her and talk to her about as we possibly can. You know, if it does get a little too glitchy, we might have a shorter interview than what we would like to do, but hopefully it'll all work out much better. Again, too, lots of really fascinating things I was thinking about here too, you know, and I want to get on and talk with her about here when she gets back on. Is, you know, as I was talking with Sarah about too, is, you know, we're here in the Pacific Northwest, and we got all these really, again, right down in California. It's just really south of me, where Sarah's talking about there in the trivia question, these nearly 5,000-year-old trees. I mean, some of the most oldest trees that have been alive and living through all of this, you know, this history on this planet. You know, most of all of our human history is just really, really something to think about, you know. So, all right, let's see here. I think we've got her back on here. Let's give this a try. Let's see if we're sound. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you great. Can you hear me?
All right, I'm hearing you all right. Hopefully this is better. Well, let's roll with this and see how we're going.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Okay, so I was just kind of priming everybody there as we were waiting there, is kind of back to what I was talking about with Sarah in the previous segment. You know, kind of, I live here in the Pacific Northwest. I'm just a little bit north of some of the oldest trees in the world, I guess, as we learned through our trivia question here. And thinking about how, you know, these trees have lived through so long of our history here, you know, world history, human history, you know, and then thinking about, well, here in the US, we've only been here as people. I was driving with a friend of mine the other day. We came around the corner, and in the front yard of this big house, they had this massive tree. I couldn't even tell you what kind it was. It was massive. It was huge. And I was just like, that tree is so old. I'll bet you that it's been here before any of us were here. You know what I mean? As far as the city or where we are, because we've only settled this a part of the world in just the last couple, you know, 100, 200 years, you know. And is, you know, as much as we've settled, there's been people here for a lot longer than that. But I was just thinking about that in that sort of sense of, like, in the book, you're talking about these oaks in the UK that have been a part of so much more human history, even in the time that they've been around. I mean, literally, you guys have been living in them practically, you know, and it's just so interesting to think about that. We're looking at trees that have seen so much of this history, you know, without us and around us, and here we come. But these oaks you're living with have been living with you guys their whole time and through a lot of history, though.
Yes, and so an oak tree, the species here in the UK, if they have a good life, the best life really, they can live for 900, even 1,000 years. And we tend to say they grow for 300 years, they live for 300 years, and then they die for 300 years. There's various different ways of saying that. And it's sort of humbling to think that Shakespeare only lived, you know, half the life of an oak tree ago. You know,
Yeah.
It's just sort of astonishing, isn't it, when you think that the history they have seen, and yet it's nothing like, you know, they live nowhere as long at all as the bristlecone pine, you know. So
Right.
yeah, I think you try and cast yourself back and think what all, you know, collectively the world's ancient trees have witnessed. It is deeply humbling, isn't it? We're just their guardians here on, you know, and it's up to us, I believe, to nurture them and keep them going as long as possible, because each one is rare and really precious. It's precious, intrinsically precious, but it's very precious for the wildlife, you know, around it. But it's really precious for us. It's our heritage, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
It's very, and when you start looking into the species on and around the oak tree, so I don't know if you have these in America, but here in the UK, there's a particular kind of gall, a marble
Yeah.
gall. These aren't familiar with galls. They are, lots of plants have them. and they are formed when an insect lays an egg in a tree. It lays an egg on part of a tree, it could be a bird, leaf, what have you, and they somehow at the same time they chemically change the tree, that part of the tree, and it forms this little, in this case, it's
So interesting.
yeah, and so that's a little, so marble gauze, particularly associated with oak trees, and it's a little wasp that creates them, and it increases its life because they live inside this little marble-sized thing. But what's fascinating about that is that particular kind of gall was particularly useful for making ink.
Yeah.
And for 1,000 years, we made ink.
That was so fascinating.
Yeah, and if you think of like so many, right until the 50s, so many of history's greatest documents, just still in archives, were made of that ink. So the works of Shakespeare, Isaac Newton, the American Declaration of Independence from Britain.
The Declaration of Independence. I know, I was reading, I can't believe that. And here's another one that a lot of people, without getting into it, I don't like to dip into this stuff too much, but there's a thing called due process, and that's a big subject right now. And due process and all of this sort of stuff comes from one of them documents, the Magna Carta, of all the way back of like what, the 1400s or some long time ago, that was done on this ink like you're talking about, that came from a gall from an oak. It's just so fascinating, right? And again too, I've gone to the National Archives, I've seen the Declaration of Independence, or even all that other stuff. But to know that these ink that was used was coming from these oaks. Yeah, again, like I said, we're having connection issues. Let's see here, I'm gonna go ahead and pull that back out. It looks like, again too, yeah, we're having connection issues. It seems to be something there with some sort of part of our connection. But yeah, again, that's so fascinating. You think about it, these massively historical documents and historical documents on the level of the Magna Carta, things like Shakespeare and these sort of stuff that were written on ink. And I never even knew about the ink until I was reading about this. And it was, again, one of these fascinating things, and really one of the cool things about this book too. And I'm hopefully we'll get as much of a conversation with Jules as we can, but I do recommend you guys get this book. It's written so well, and in the way she tells these stories, and so much, she has a really humorous way of talking about stuff and interweaving different historical pieces with the context of nature and trees and all this sort of stuff. There's just so much in here. I found it so fascinating. Like I said, I just got this book just a couple of days ago, and I'm already ripping through about half of it. And I got so many things going on. I'm trying to fit in this book, but I'm also at the same time, I'm not getting a couple of things done because I'm like grabbing it going, oh, I want to read some more because I'm finding these stories in this historical context about stuff so fascinating. And like I said, a lot of it is kind of focused on oaks of the UK. And I know we've got a few folks from the UK, right here on, who listen in on the show, and this will be very relevant for you. So you definitely should get this book and read it for sure, because, you can go see some of these trees that she's talking about in this book easily. We all can't really, but I mean, just more easily for you. But like I said, it really is fascinating for anybody who loves trees, who loves nature and forests and the things going on in forests, because there's a lot more too that she gets into when we're talking about like these galls. There's a lot of birds, a lot of different other other animals and fungi and other plants and as I mentioned, lichens, and just all sorts of just other species of things that live on or around these amazing trees as well too, that they kind of live symbiotically with each other too, in a way too, that really becomes fascinating when you start looking at this interconnectedness that so many things have. I'll take you back to these take you back to these big giant sequoias. One of the things that was very interesting about, I mentioned that picture I have of General Sherman. Big, huge picture, came out of National Geographic. Well, that article in National Geographic talked a lot about this sort of connection between all of these other plants, animals, mosses, fungi, lichens, all these sort of different things that lived on these trees. And the craziest thing to think about, you get up into these higher levels of those giant sequoias, and on those big, what are huge arms of limbs that they have, along these limbs, soil gathers and becomes, and all of that, to where little trees grow on these trees. Little, just whole other ecosystems are alive, living inside of these trees. And so there's some really cool pictures in that article of the National Geographic. I don't know if you can find it out there. I'd love to be able to find it digitally or something, but where they really dug into that. We think we're just looking at a tree, and we're not just looking at a tree. It's that tree has so much going on besides that. Let's see here. We got Jules back on with us again here. Let's dip back in here. I know our connection's not really the best. I want to get in as much of a conversation about this as we can too. I was kind of moving on a little bit here and kind of making a connection with our big giant trees that we have here, with kind of what you're talking about as well in this book, where I was saying I just really find it fascinating, and you write about it so well, is the connection with other animals or organisms, of all different types and species that live and rely on these sort of trees.
Yeah.
We think we're just looking at a tree, and we're not. There's so much else going on.
And I think the more you delve into it, the more you realise how interconnected it all is, and that's why it's so important that we look after every element. I was going to say the chain, but it's not even a chain, is it? It's more like a network of all these things, all interdependent of each other. And we're part of that, aren't we? We're part of, because we're reliant on plants to provide our air. So and I think it's really funny, is the more I learned, the more I realised I didn't know, because there's just so much, and you again, it's a bit like the age of the trees. You're humbled by the amount of connectivity that's going on all around you, most of which we don't see. Whether it's up in the air, down in the ground, all around us. It's absolutely fascinating. And you get, one of the things that happened to me whilst I was researching, again, I'm sure it would happen if you did it on oaks or another species in America. You just start getting really interested in all these different types of life, whether it be lichens or these weird little gall wasps or our bird life or the fungi that we know so little about, and we're some of which we're living just even before we've known about them, to almost it's fascinating.
It is so fascinating too. And like I said, it was years ago I was reading this article about that giant tree that I got that poster from. And the fact that, along its big limbs, there are other little tree seeds that'll get in and grow off the limbs of these trees. There are all sorts of animals and other organisms growing and living and doing all sorts of things on and about these trees. And I'm sure as I'm reading through this book, it's a very similar thing with these ancient oaks as well, too, is that, like I said, we're not just looking at a tree. We're looking at a whole ecosystem within one tree.
That's why they're so precious. And if you really want to see that in abundance, absolutely abundance, the place to visit in the UK, well, there's loads of great places, but the place to visit in the UK is to go along to one of the UK temperate rainforests. Generally, they're on the sort of west coast of the UK, and that's where a lot of them, there's only fragments remaining, but at work at the Woodland Trust, we're trying to reconnect them up and restore them. And that is where you just, because they're sort of they're washed by sort of the air, and it's sort of a very even temperature, and it's just really good growing conditions. and you just
Mhm.
see things growing on top of things, and it's just everywhere. It's just lush, and it's kind of fairy tale like, you know. It's just you just sort of
Yeah.
makes you feel like you're surrounded by mythology and folklore, and it's just fabulous.
Yeah, yeah. And we were mentioning in the conversation there too that Jay was saying that you were Sherwood Forest, you're near Nottinghamshire. And for everybody else, I mean, in the world, around the world, we all know Sherwood Forest, as English lady would say it here. Isn't that Robin Hood country, right? We were kind of
Indeed.
touching on that just a little bit as well too. You know, talk about the history of some of these oaks and the fact that what I found really fascinating too, again, it kind of takes us back to what we were previously talking about a bit, is that you can go visit some of these same trees
Yeah.
that these very folks were around. You know, Robin Hood and his merry men were hanging around some of these big trees, these big oaks that were alive. The same trees you can go visit today. It's just, to me, I find that connection
Certainly.
to that history through a tree to be so amazing and fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, certainly from the period, sort of the medieval period when, you know, the legends of Robin Hood are set, you know, some of the trees date from that period. And there's one tree, there's all sorts of, Sherwood Forest is really, if you're interested in oak trees, do go visit Sherwood Forest because it's got a massive collection of really interesting ancient oak trees.
Yeah.
But one of them, which is to look at, is perhaps the least impressive, one of the least impressive, but actually when you hear its story, you change, well, it might change your mind. It's called the Parliament Oak. And it was a tree under which King John.
Oh,
I'm back. I'm back.
oh,
King John, you know,
no.
commonly seen as the villain from that type of era, Bad King John. He would had a hunt. He used to go hunting in that area.
We've lost.
Oh, he lost me.
Looks like we've lost screen here.
Oh. It went black my end, and then then everything reappeared.
Yeah, I can hear you, but we're black screen, so I don't know. Our connection's really funky this time, isn't it?
What a shame. If you'd like to come back another time, I'd love to join you if that would be helpful. If that's easier, I mean, whatever works for you.
Well, definitely. I mean, I'm gonna and for sure, what we'll do is we'll definitely try to find another time for sure.
Yes.
Because again, I think this book is wonderful. I'm going to, in the meantime, basically finish up the book is what I'll do, and I'm gonna do that, and then we'll have so much more we can talk about, and I'll find a show here up here soon, an opening, and we can have you back on, and we'll get a better connection or something like that, or maybe run it through a laptop or something, or that sort of thing, and make sure we can get a good conversation about this stuff in, because there's a lot to talk about in this stuff that I found so fascinating in just and I'm not kidding everybody, in just the first, like, I'm almost I would say almost halfway through the book right now, and I've been just loving every bit of it. I think the way you write is awesome. I hope you're working on another book right now, in fact, because it doesn't matter what you write, I will want to read it after reading this, is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, is it doesn't matter what you write, I will want to read your next book. So we will get through the rest of this book, and we will have you back, Jules. Thank you so much again, too, for trying to get this together. I will tell everybody as well, too, that Jules is kind of on a trip right now. So she's not quite in a place that's normal where we can get a good connection and that sort of stuff as well, too. So that's kind of the reasoning behind some of this. We just tried to fit it in for our Arbor Day conversation. And again, we will have Jules back again. Thank you so much for being here for us and for giving it a good try anyways right now.
Oh, I'm sorry about the connection. Thanks everybody for bearing with it, and see you again, and hopefully I'll be at home next time, hopefully, and so hopefully it'll be easier to manage.
Yes, absolutely. We look forward to it for sure. Thank you so much, Jules.
Take care.
All right, everybody. Again, too, this is a live show. We're going to run into something like this every now and then for sure. Yikes, yikes, yikes. And I was going to tell you too, as well, too, and this is something that could happen as well. I think I almost figured out what the issue was with my system with the camera where it was knocking me out. And remember back a while back ago when we had Jenna from Grow Fully with Jenna, and it completely knocked me out. And Jenna basically had to take over the show for a little bit. But there was some sort of thing that was going on with the connection going there. But I found something that was working for a while, and that was just basically resetting everything. So right before the show starts, I pull out and I reset and reconnect, and then I've been able to go throughout most the whole show and not have any problems at all whenever I do that. But today I didn't reset. I got started because I was telling everybody, if everybody remembers, I was kind of in a hurry. We were finishing some last minute things up, and I didn't reset everything before I started the show. So I've been worried myself throughout this whole show now. When am I going to drop out? When is it going to break from me? But it's actually we found other connection issues, and again, too, with a live show like this, we're bound to run into them every now and then. I don't know if there's some people who remember far enough back to our first year. We had our friend Nick Fedoroff. He's a radio gardener on Things Green radio show, a television show for PBS as well too, and he was on with us, and we were having massive connection issues and problems with him, and it became this whole thing and everything. That was probably that was when I first learned in that first year how much fun doing a live show can be when you're dealing with the fact that we're all just trying to connect with each other from all over the world. In fact, that's just really something amazing about being able to do this show and have this opportunity that we get here on the Let's Get Growing show, is to be able to talk with people all over the world, have folks from all over the world, like all of you in the conversation, lots of Canadians and folks from the UK and Australia and all over, joining us here in the US as well too. This is a worldwide show, and when you're trying to make connections, sometimes it's just not going to go the way you really, really want them to go. And like I said, maybe it's for the best, because there's more for me to get into in this book. I'm going to finish it up here over the next few weeks, and we'll look for an opportunity to get Jules back on the show. We'll get a better connection going for sure, and then we'll get to dig in and talk about all of that sort of stuff, because I want to get into that. I want to get into we kind of touched on the galls. That was just a part I read about, actually, just this last night as I was reading one of the latest chapters that I was finishing up on, was these galls. There's so much fascinating things going on just with the idea of galls themselves. And I just learned about this whole phenomenon myself just this last year, as I was doing a hike with another friend out in one of our forests. And I would have thought I'd known or seen these before, but I'd never seen them. And I hadn't really, or maybe I'd had seen them, but I just didn't know what they were. That sort of thing. But learning about galls, that's really interesting. Talking more about all of these other species of organisms and things that live on and around oak trees. Lots and lots more to talk about. Woodpeckers. There's a big chapter in here too that talk about woodpeckers and woodpecker holes. Basically, that woodpeckers make new homes all the time, and so they leave behind their homes for other animals and birds and things like that as well too. So many fascinating things to talk about. So we'll get into that. We'll finish that up, and we'll have Jules back on the show to have that conversation with her. So bummer. It's just the way it happens, just the way it goes. And anyways, thank you all for being here too. And let's see here. Let's see. Big West says, every time I touch my cell phone or laptop, I'm hit with roadblock frustration. I don't know what to say. Oh yeah. It's just a problem with technology, man. Some things go wrong, just having connection issues sometimes, depending on where you're at too, and for Jules, she was at another place, that's out in they're doing like some sort of like woods and hiking and these sort of things. So she's out there somewhere, you know what I mean? So the connection issues were kind of a worry, you know, but it's just kind of the way it goes. Wes says, I enjoy Jules. Yeah, and that's the thing too. The book is so well written that I was just really looking forward to be able to just dig into some of these things and then maybe, you know, get to hear from her about how she got to, you know, learn about that. And then as well, too, to talk a little bit more about the Woodland Trust as well, too. The Woodland Trust that she works for, an organization that works for and around forests and forest issues and all that sort of stuff as well, too. So lots of cool stuff to talk about on that level as well. So again, like I said, we'll have her back on with us soon for sure. Let's see here. English lady just dropped this question in. Will a grapevine grow in a very big pot? Well, I'm going to tell you what. That's funny you asked that question, because that is exactly what I'm going to do this year. I'm going to try to grow a grapevine in a big. What I'm going to do is actually, it's going to be big though. I mean, we're talking, I've got one of these, I've got several of these 45-gallon felt pots that I was given for a contest that I was in a few years back with this organization, this company that we shall not name, but was an interesting experience. Anyways, I got these big 45-gallon felt pots from them. I've been using, I got 6 of them. I've had 5 of them out on the side alleyway that I've been growing like tomatoes and peppers and different things in each and every year along the side alleyway. But I've had this one other one that I had put away in my, you know, my garden storage area, and I pulled it out just the other day. And was like, I gotta grow something in this. And then I was just noticing as well too, I got this cool grapevine from our sponsor Ivy Organic and Dave Wilson Nursery, who is going to be on our show. Both of them will be on our show tomorrow for the Sunday edition. But anyways, I got this really what they say is a really delicious variety of grape. So I got this grapevine from them last year, and I potted it up into this pot last year, and just to kind of keep it going. I didn't have a space for it. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I kept it going. We kept it safe and secure all winter long, and it's just growing and flourishing right now, and it wants to get going. And so I was like, what am I going to do with this? I looked at that big pot. I'm like, I'm going to set that up in another part of the alleyway. We're going to fill it up in a big 45-gallon pot, and I'm going to put that grapevine in there. Maybe we'll build some sort of kind of apparatus, trellis, cage, something. Maybe we'll use just the cages that we use. I'm not sure yet. We'll put something in there, and we'll let those grapevines grow and do whatever and see how it goes from there, and just kind of test it out and see how well that grapevine will do in the pot. And I'm pretty sure that they'll do okay. I went on a visit Silmar Agricultural at Silmar High School down in Southern California, outside of Los Angeles. Mr. Steve List is, or used to, it's now another instructor, Stefan, who works down there now. But they have just an amazing, cool ag education center there at their high school. And Mr. List, as they call him, Mr. List, took us kind of on a really cool tour and was showing us all the things that they do there in their education and growing center there. And one of them was growing grapes in these big containers with this cool kind of thing that he built. And I thought about that. I maybe would do some form of this sort of thing. I have to go back and take a look at it again on that video that we did. It's one of our feature visit videos on our main page on YouTube. I'm not sure if Jay could find that or not, but it was a visit we did with Mr. List. And on there, I believe he talked about it, and we looked at it just a little bit on that video tour, was the containers he was doing for the grapevines. And he was showing those there to show the kids that, because he's showing them about all the different types of jobs and career opportunities that there are in the agricultural industry. And one of them is working on some of the many wine farms. I mean, I live right out here in Southern Oregon, right outside of here in the Rogue Valley. Jacksonville, Southern Oregon is a big, huge wine area right out here. A lot of the old pear orchards have converted over to doing wine here, and a lot of those places need people and who are, have built careers and knowledge and education in working with grapes and grapevines and doing that sort of stuff. So that was one of the reasons why they had that there, and growing them right out of these containers too, as well too. So I do believe it would work very well. Long way of explaining and telling you that I think it would work. But again, too, I think the point that you're saying there too in your question there is very big pot is what I'm going to do mine in, is a very big pot. And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, they were pretty good sized containers, maybe not as big as the 45 50 gallons that I've got in my big felt pot, but maybe something of the 20 gallon, I would say, or so would probably work. Or maybe even I've got blueberries growing out of those regular like storage totes. You know, you get those storage totes, get them on sale every holidays to store away all of your holiday stuff. You get those little storage totes and use those. Those are big. They're probably, I would say, a good 20 plus gallons or so worth of volume there as well too, and would be a good amount of root space or something like that that could be grown out of as well too. So yeah, really great. Yes, I saw Jade put that link in there too to that video that we did with Mr. List there at Silmar Agricultural Center there too. That was fun. That was actually just right. That was just right there during COVID, mid COVID or so like that, and they were still doing kind of like outside classes, and he was still doing some things, a little bit of things to do with their courses and stuff too, because a lot of that is outdoors. And that day that I went to do that visit and do that interview and stuff with them, they were setting up and doing their graduation that they have outdoors, big huge graduation at the Silmar High School and stuff too. So I got to see this big huge graduation ceremony as well too, as a part of my day, hanging out with Mr. Steve List down there too. That was a really fun, really awesome place. I've got to hopefully get back down there sometime and visit Stefan. I met him. He was basically Steve's assistant at the time when I went to do the visit there. But he's now taken over and is now the head instructor of that agricultural center there too. So we'll have to go do an interview with Stefan and see how that ag center is doing, and maybe go catch up with Steve List too, as he's doing a bunch of really cool educational seminars and discussions and talks around the Los Angeles County, all over the place too, doing some really cool stuff as well too. So he's still teaching. And the ag center still got a great place there to teaching kids or the teenagers about really cool career opportunities in agriculture and with plants and growing things. It's just something I should have probably looked at a lot more when I was that age. But I was on a whole other adventure at that time, whole other stories to be told some other time for sure. Right on. Excellent. Let's see, Jay also put another link there too for some other growing tips for growing grapevines in pots. But yeah, that's gonna be one of my experiments this year. I'm gonna give that a try with this grapevine that I've got from Dave Wilson Nursery. And as I mentioned too, we got Tom Spellman from Dave Wilson Nursery coming on the show tomorrow with Charles Malky of Ivy Organics, our sponsor, to have a discussion again too. We're talking all about trees on tree care for our roundtable discussion on tomorrow's show. Let's see. Right on. Adam says that my family has ties with the beginning of vineyards here in Rogue Valley. Yeah, yeah. That would be an interesting story to kind of like learn about in a way too, is that sort of thing. And again, maybe more for us locally here. I mean, it'd be great if we were doing, but this, just kind of what that was and how farmers were making or these pear farmers. And at least this is how I understand a lot of it too. And I'm sure you probably know a lot better than me, Adam, is that a lot of the pear orchards here were seeing a changing climate or seeing these sort of things going on, or maybe it was that grapes were just a better option at some point. They just learned and figured that out or something, and then they just start, and a lot of places started making that conversion. And then there's a lot of places that have just bought up land and started some new vineyards as well too. It's one of the kind of cool things about driving through the area. It's just basically to the west of me here as you head towards Jacksonville here in the Rogue Valley. The Applegate area basically is just lots and lots of vineyards all over the Rogue Valley, actually, just all over around here. Ashland area, south, east, west of me, lots and lots of vineyards all over the place. So I should be able to grow some grapes pretty well. I see there's grapevines growing. Some neighbors of mine have like some big other, and I'm not sure what varieties there are too, but I see they get some big, huge grape bushes going in a couple of spots too. That I like to go by and just grab a couple of bunches of grapes if I can. But I have to check again what variety those grapes are that I got from Charles and Dave Wilson Nursery last year. They're supposed to be really delicious, and so I'm looking forward to those. If we can get some good grape bunches to grow off of those this year. Right on, everybody. So again, kind of a little bit of a funky, different show for us today, but still overall pretty good. I think we're going to kind of start moving along today. I got some things I'm still trying to get caught up and finished with, so I think I'm going to get moving on to do all that sort of stuff as well too. So let's run down a little bit of what we got coming up here on the Let's Get Growing show. And again, too, as I was mentioning earlier, we are celebrating National Garden Month right now. So as I said at the beginning of the show, figure out some fun way to invite some folks over, check out your garden, and encourage some people who don't garden yet to start maybe a garden of their own this year, and help them along or whatever too. And that'll be a great way to kind of help grow our fun gardening community here as something that we gardeners can do to celebrate or do something for National Garden Month. Right on. And as I mentioned too before, we've got a great show coming up for you this next Saturday. Next Saturday on the show, we will have joining with us Dr. Jeff Pierce. Dr. Jeff Pearson's coming back on the show. We had him back after I met Dr. Jeff at the National Heirloom Exposition this last year. He had a really great talk about gardening as medicine. We had a great fun interview and discussion with him last time he was on, so we're going to bring him back on, and we'll have a fun little announcement to go along with that as well too this next Saturday. So you'll want to come and check out that show with Dr. Jeff Pierce joining with us for the show next Saturday. And then on the Sunday edition of the Let's Get Growing show tomorrow, as I mentioned, we've got Charles Malky, Ivy Organic, joining with us, and Tom Spellman from Dave Wilson Nursery. We're talking all about tree care and backyard orchard culture, all sorts of great things. Tom is just an amazing wealth of knowledge for those of you who want to grow fruit trees, if you want to care for some trees that you already have that you might want to learn a little bit more about how you can care for them just a little bit better, you'll want to come and jump in the conversation, ask some questions about that with Tom on the show, as well as maybe you want to start your own little backyard orchard or something like that. Come and join with us for the conversation tomorrow on the Sunday edition roundtable with Charles and Tom Spellman from Dave Wilson Nursery and our sponsor, Ivy Organics. It was a great conversation with those two last year when we had them on to talk about trees and tree care. So I'm really looking forward to having them back on the show for our Sunday edition of the show tomorrow. So we got lots and lots growing on still here on the Let's Get Growing show. As I say, every Saturday and Sunday here at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And again, like I also mentioned too, just a little bit ago as well too, I am planning for what will be, I think, the Sunday after next. We'll see what we'll do, but it'll hopefully be, I think the Sunday after next, we'll do another community show as well too. We'll get all of you guys on the show and give you a chance to jump on and jump into the conversation and talk with all of us here on the Let's Get Growing show. I've had so much fun with those. We'll see what happens this time around as we'll plan for one ahead of time. I'll let you know all about that a little bit more next Sunday on the show. And again, too, before we head out here, I want you all to hit that like button, click the thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Hit the bell notification to be notified of all of our upcoming videos and live streams. I do got videos coming out. I know I say this all the time. Again, it's just, as I mentioned in my first garden journal that we put out here, and there's another one coming out this next week as well too. But my first one, as I mentioned, is a lot of this is just kind of gearing up. I'm trying to get a lot of my timing put together right. I'm trying to get a lot of things set up. We do have our pepper series. I just put out a new video for our pepper series just this last week as well too. So if you haven't had a chance to go check that out as well too, go check out that video. We talked about my do-it-yourself light station that you kind of got to see at the very beginning of today's show as I was showing you all of my tomato starts and everything. I kind of show you all, you guys, how I put that together. It's real simple. It's real easy. If you want a nice little simple do-it-yourself light station, check out that video on our pepper series. We've got more of that coming out as well too. I'll be showing you all about how I transplant those pepper starts and move them on into what is their next stage of indoor growth, into another light setup that I have that we'll talk about again in some more upcoming videos on that pepper series that we'll have coming out this next week, and another garden journal. So again, like I said, make sure you're hitting that bell notification so you're notified of all of those upcoming videos. And then again too, we've got lots more Let's Get Growing shows and great guests coming up. So share with all of your friends and let them know about our fun, awesome gardening conversations here with this worldwide selection of the world's top garden communicators. I mean, we are such a fortunate audience for this great conversations with these amazing communicators, authors, podcasters, radio and television hosts, YouTubers, you name it, Instagardeners, all sorts of folks out there sharing their wonderful garden adventures right here on the Let's Get Growing show with all of us here. So again, like I said, share with all your friends, let them know about everybody. And again, follow all the links down in the description below. I know I'm kind of stretching this out just a little bit here. Our show's just a little bit shorter than normal. I'm sorry, everybody, that we just had that little bit of a connection issue with our guest today, Jules Acton, author of Oaklore, Adventures in Extraordinary Trees, A World of Extraordinary Trees. So we'll have her back on the show for sure, because such a great, there was so many more questions I had just from the part of the book that I read so far. So I'm sure I'll have plenty more questions for her when we get her back on the show again soon. To talk about and get into talking more about just wonderful trees. I'll just say, as I'm finishing up here today, as we're talking about trees for this weekend and everything, is that even though I got into plants kind of at an early age, trees were really my first real fascination, from the old plum tree. I remember this big old plum tree this older gentleman that lived next to me in my neighborhood had, and he used to let us get up in there and play around in it and all that sort of stuff. And one year he built a tree house for all of us neighborhood kids. He's just an older gentleman. Didn't I don't even know if he had his own grandkids or anything like that, but he saw that we all loved playing around in this big old tree and everything, and built us a tree house up in that tree and everything too. And I just remember loved all these trees, and it's something that throughout my whole life, every time I see a tree or just certain trees will just stand out, and they just kind of, they have just a wonderful presence about them, in all shapes and sizes and species and varieties and all sorts of different types of trees, and everything. And there's just so many fascinating stories about all different types of them. And I just, again, trees were just one of my very first favorite things growing up, and so it's always great to be able to give them just a little bit time here on the Let's Get Growing show. Even though we are a gardening channel, when it comes down to it, trees can still play a really big important part of our connection to nature and in our garden spaces, as well as again, I like to grow things that grow food when it goes down to it. Lots and lots of wonderful fruiting trees and things that we can grow in our gardens as well too. So great homage to trees. So thankful for them, and thankful for all of you being here with us today and joining in on the conversation. And like I said, it's all part of the fun of having a fun live show like we get to have here each and every weekend here on the Let's Get Growing show. And sometimes we get a little bit of a glitch and a little bit of that, but we'll make up for it. We'll have Jules back in. We'll get to talk about that Oaklore book. We'll talk more and more because we'll have more and more shows coming up. Like I said, I'll see all of you for sure on our Sunday edition of the show tomorrow. So, all right, everybody. We'll see all of you. Where is it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Oh my, oh my. I'll see all of you tomorrow.